I'm a barrister and Queen's Counsel, and I've been a practitioner here in the United Kingdom for many, many years, over 4 decades. And in the last 2 years, I have been the director of the Institute of Human Rights for the International Bar Association. Now, the International Bar Association is an umbrella organization. It was set up in 1948 after the Second World War, and it was to draw together lawyers around those issues that were very prevalent at the time, which was about creating standards for the rule of law and the protection of human rights around the world. And of course, you'll remember that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights had just been created. There are 187 bar associations around the world that are underneath that umbrella, and many thousands of law firms and individual lawyers are members of the IBA. So it's a membership organization with a great deal of influence and power. Within it, there is this Institute of Human Rights, which enjoys a level of independence. I'm not answerable to anybody, and so it means that the Institute can call out behaviours in countries, even where there has been a level of, if you like, capture of bar associations and even judiciaries by the government. And one of the roles that we play is in calling to account places and governments that are eroding human rights and the rule of law, and also protecting lawyers and judges who do come under attack. Now, Turkey has been a great source of concern to us during all these years, and Owen has described the high number of lawyers that have been attacked and have been imprisoned. In fact, there are a whole set of them who are currently serving more than almost 3,000 years between them in the lengths of sentences that have been passed on them. And you've heard about the treatment of those lawyers. But of course, they don't stand alone. The intellectuals, the judges in huge number were arrested after the coup, academics, journalists severely attacked. And so, these are all signals, of course, of populism. What happens when you have populist governments is there's always that trajectory. The leaders of populist governments providing simple solutions to complicated issues almost invariably don't like criticism. They go after their political opponents. They go after the journalists who write freely about them. They go after the lawyers who represent the journalists or represent those who are organizing in civil society. They go after intellectuals and so on. And so they go after, of course, their judiciary if the judiciary seek to uphold rights. And so that classic trajectory can be seen in so many places in the world, but by God, can it be seen currently in Turkey. The International Bar Association's Human Rights Institute has a number of focuses. I mean, we deal with thematic areas, of course, around extrajudicial killing, arbitrary arrests, erosions of rights generally, and the whole gamut. But most particularly using our expertise as lawyers, addressing these things, particularly within the administration of justice. One of the things that we've been doing recently is we've been running a high-level panel of legal experts on media freedom, because if people aren't well informed about what's going on in their nations and don't know the abuses that are taking place, the corruptions that are taking place, and the ways in which their own avenues for redress are disappearing, then they will never be able to assert their rights. And so that issue of media freedom is at the heart of a big project that we're doing, which is now a sort of multilateral project. It started off where we had the UK and Canada involved. It's under now got the support of UNESCO, and so it sort of acts as a sort of gathering institution. And we've now got 40 countries around the world have signed into this, making a commitment to media freedom and to the ways in which governments might be called to account, and there might be redress and protections for journalists. So I wanted to talk here about the use of targeted sanctions. I mean, one of the problems that we all have now is the situation with regard to the UN and those, if you like, those methods that were put into place with the sort of, if you like, the idea of an order, a sort of, based on the rule of law, that has been disintegrating. And it wasn't helped by the fact that we had Trump in the White House, who was not very respectful of international law or any of those, things that basically would provide a unifying front on protecting societies and individuals. And so the UN has been on the back foot. Hopefully it will be reasserted now that there's a different administration in the United States. But of course, it's not just about the United States. It's about the fact that we've seen this along with the pandemic. We've also seen another pandemic, which is the rise of populism in so many places. And Turkey is a prime example. I want to pay a bit of a tribute here now to Bill Browder, because I've known Bill now for, I think, something like 10 years. And he really has been the pioneer. He's fathered a change in international law, which is that to give some teeth to international law, because we are not seeing the international community coming together adequately on horrors like what's taking place in Turkey. And so you have to find other mechanisms, and we have to be inventive and creative as lawyers to find ways of calling abuse to account. And the silence of the international community is echoing large around the world. Bill, in creating the sanctions, this novel sanctions regime, is saying, go after the individuals. Don't wait and go after nations and make the ordinary people of a nation suffer. Go after the people who actually are perpetrating these abuses. And almost all of these people who run populist governments quietly have their money elsewhere, or they have their policemen who have money elsewhere and keep their assets elsewhere because they worry that their time might come when they might have to exit and have an exit strategy. So they keep their monies in other places. They often have assets here in London, but they have them in Manhattan, they have them in the south of France, they have them in many different places. And so what we have to do is go after the assets that the powerful have, particularly those who are the ministers of justice, the people who are the leading figures in a nation, the people who are the people who run the prisons, the people who are running the prosecutorial services. And so you go after you identify the individuals who are going to be hard hit by this stuff, and you don't let them have visas. You freeze their assets. You don't let them send their children to universities in the United Kingdom or to school, the private schools in the UK. And so you go after the people who actually are the decision makers that are, in fact, perpetrating these horrifying abuses against so many people around the world, but particularly today we're talking about Turkey. So it's about giving teeth to international law. And one of the things that we did doing on this media freedom project was to actually make that one of the first pieces of work we've done. We're looking at creating a whole set of mechanisms in order to empower human rights organizations, lawyers, etc., to be able to go after those who are committing this kind of outrage. And that we've published a report, and I would advise you all to take a look at it. Amal Clooney was our main writer of it, and along with other lawyers who sit on an expert panel from around the world, from Latin America, from Seoul, from India, Pakistan, from everywhere. Really brilliant lawyers who come together to create a strategy for dealing with this kind of abuse. So I really just wanted to kick off your discussions by talking about the ways in which we mustn't feel powerless in the face of the powerful. We've been holding, the IBAHRI Human Rights Institute has been running a trial watch on the trial of Osman Kavala. Not a lawyer, but we're collaborating with lawyers around that. He was the chairman of the Open Society Foundation in Turkey, and it was building civil society and maintaining civil society, and those involved in the Geza Park matters will know exactly who he is. But he has been appallingly treated. And of course, the idea is to set him as an example to anybody else who steps forward to act as a pro-democracy voice and to be protecting civil society. And so the message to everybody is, this is what happens to you. And that, of course, again, is what autocratic leaders in countries do. So I want to just say to you all that, you know, acting as lawyers, I mentioned earlier on that I'm having to leave now because we're expecting the United States to take up a much different position with regard to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist. And I happen to be I was on the expert group that accompanied Agnes Kalamar, the rapporteur, to Turkey. So I heard the evidence. I heard the tapes of what happened to Jamal Khashoggi. I heard the intercepted phone calls. And all I can tell you is that if we can't secure justice in a case like that, where there actually is verbal evidence, it shows you how hard it is in any other kind of case. We have to be drawing together the international community around these issues, and we have to get tough. And Bill Browder has invented something where we have to get it spread everywhere. The EU has signed up now, and Bill will talk about the other nations that are coming on board. But we have to actually be calling it out here in the UK as well, to make sure that people are put on the sanctions list, and that we aren't pusillanimous about it because of trade and so on. We've really got to take a stand in the world about justice and about the rule of law. Thank you all.